Fuck, I don't remember what I was going to say.
This is why we get drunk every week.
This is why we get drunk every week. All right.
Hello, and welcome to the Rambling Knave. I'm Brandon.
And I'm the Eggman.
Cuckoo Cachoo. Tonight's special guest.
I'm Noah. And there will be a show tonight on trampolines, over men and horses, hoops and garters, and lastly, through a hogshead of real fire.
This is the Beatles episode. Tonight's episode is about the top 10 most underrated songs as picked by your illustrious panel.
Keeping in mind that this is a strictly personal list. This is by no means official.
No, this is fact.
Yeah. It's not like we contacted, Paul and got his okay on this. So, that being said, what we did was we picked our top 10 songs each. It took us about 3 weeks to do. Not easy to do. A lot of arguing and heartfelt discussions.
Which is a polite way of saying coming to blows.
Yeah. We came up with top 10. Now, the only criteria we really had was it couldn't have over a 50% like/download rate on Amazon Prime Music. So, for your enjoyment, I give you our top 10 list.
Number 10, being For the Benefit of Mr. Kite, written by John Lennon, by the Beatles, written by Lennon.
Yep.
We're going to go with the primary songwriter on each of these. They all kind of had, most of them, they all kind of had their fingers in the pie in some way, but this was primarily a John song. Now, the basis for this song was they saw a flyer for a circus that wasn't going on at the time, but it was just an old flyer for an old circus, and at that point when they were doing Peppers, which they had carte blanche at that point,
Yep.
they said, let's have a circusy song, and it worked.
It's certainly a circusy song. If you listen to it, it has all the,
Calliopes and
it's
circus
literally,
sounds.
like you're watching somebody whip some elephants into riding on balls or something.
Yeah. So.
And it should be noted that for this pick, we couldn't figure out our 10th song. So we went outside of our group to pick for number 10 because we'll get to it later, but our honorable mention song that we three picked, we were told was not really underrated. So we had to have a guest pick, and this is
To break the argument.
Yeah.
So this one went to their father, George.
Not George Harrison.
No.
But just as cool.
I mean, that
if
would
not
be
cooler.
dope. Space
cool
Fish
guy.
himself.
Thanks, Space Fish.
All right, number 9.
Everybody's got something to hide except me and my monkey. And now, there's 3 songs that each of us got to pick to help break ties and whatnot, and this was the one that I picked. It is also a John Lennon song, and I like it because it's poppy, it's quirky, it's about him and Yoko, you could say, but it's a really upbeat poppy song, and it's again quirky.
Yeah, just like you.
I mean, it might also be about heroin.
Maybe.
That's been speculated
Yeah.
too. They were kind of in a weird way on the White Album.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to agree. There's a lot about White that I don't like. That gets a little random, but for some reason, even the randomness of this song is kind of tempered by the fact that there is kind of a meaning behind it.
Well, yeah, it's about being genuine. It's about being a genuine person. You don't need to hide anything. And also, the heroin reference comes from heroin being called monkey. If you give a shit, don't do heroin, please. It's bad.
Yep. And number 8 was Noah's pick out of our tiebreakers.
I Want You. She is so heavy.
So heavy.
In today's parlance, heavy is thick.
With 2 C's.
Capital K.
See, I picked this one because I'm a metal guy. I'm real into metal, and if you listen to it, the song's kind of jazzy, but it's also kind of metal. Through most of it, it's in 6/8 time. It's over 7 minutes long. The abrupt cut at the end, that was John's decision. It went on for much longer than that, and he just said, "I want you to cut it right here at 7:47."
Yeah, just an easy 7:47.
Yeah.
Easy listening.
Yeah.
So, again, I picked this song, again, because it's heavy, it's doomy, it's metal. It's also, it also got covered by Swiss progressive thrash band Coroner, who are also awesome and you should check out. So, I mean, to me, that just screams metal.
Yeah, yep. And number 7 would be my pick. Happiness is a Warm Gun. Yes, it is. It's a beautiful song. It gives me all the feels. It's got a dark little... wrapped up in some beauty. It's got some darkness. So much so that the BBC radio banned this song. That speaks to me in a weird way. I absolutely adore the song. And also, just as a note, this is our 4th John song in a row.
4.
Maybe we like John songs.
Maybe we just like John Lennon.
Just a little bit.
John Lennon was a solid guy.
But yeah, I absolutely adore this song. I highly suggest it for anybody, especially if you're having a weird time in your life. This is a really good one to listen to when the lights are out and you have a big glass of brown liquor in your hand.
See, but this was also the song that we kind of disagreed on because personally, I don't really like it. I mean, it's a good song, but it feels like
Get the fuck out of here.
but it feels like 3 or 4 songs just kind of stapled together.
And I do not disagree with you, but as I've said many times, if 3 or 4 songs stapled together and each one of those segments is amazing, some of their parts make this song. And it's honestly one of my top 10 favorite songs, period. Not just underrated Beatles songs. Yeah, I love this song. So, number 6, I believe this was both Misha and I picked this song.
Yeah.
This is our first George song.
Our first non-John Lennon song.
Yep. And my favorite Beatle.
Yeah, and then this is Think for Yourself, which is just... it's off of Rubber Soul, which comes after Help, and it's like their departure album. And this song is just like a straight fuck you. And that's why it's so good, because it moves the Beatles from their happy-go-lucky pop phase to their we're going to write against authority and people who just kind of go with society and do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, we're out of our everybody wearing the exact same suit phase.
Yeah, and having the same haircut.
Yes, we're now. Look at us. We're actually different people. We're not interchangeable. But
they all started to think for themselves, as it were.
And apparently dress for themselves.
Yeah, but then eventually, that ended the band, you could say. But
yeah,
we have a whole plethora of wonderful music in between.
Yep.
Well,
absolutely.
and I think that it was appropriate where it ended, because if you look at it, they were in and done in 10 years.
Yeah.
They left about as stellar a legacy as you could possibly get.
Oh,
whereas,
like the most stellar legacy as far as like music is concerned. Like
and because if you think about it, a lot of legacy acts overstay their welcome. The Rolling Stones haven't been relevant since the 80s, and if they were in and done in the time of the Beatles, they would have had that collection of albums that was just unimpeachable. But then they went and started doing shit like Emotional Rescue and Tattoo You, and now no one really cares.
Well, there is that.
So,
well, I mean, their tickets are still going for like $1,000.
well,
So
but still, like the music they make now is a
it's a far cry from what they used to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think it should be noted that like the brevity of the Beatles is also part of their genius. How they were just, when you look at it on a timeline, it's just, they were over and done so fast, but they're the most popular band ever of all time.
For a reason.
Yeah.
For many great reasons. Well, anyway, so number 5. First song by Paul.
First song by Paul.
For No One.
This one was on mine and Misha's list. I picked it, and when I picked it, I almost didn't, because initially I thought that this one... To me, this one didn't feel underrated at all. Like, I always thought that this one was, like, very widely appreciated, widely loved, because it has that real simple melody. It's got a French horn solo, which you don't hear a lot of. It's just...
The clavichord.
The clavichord, it's 2 minutes, 12 seconds. It's over and done before you know it, but the whole song sticks in your head. But when I was looking and doing this list, like many other sources had this one as like one of the top 5 underrated songs, which so I guess that's justification for putting it on this list.
Absolutely.
Well, and for this one, it was between Love You Too and For No One, but there's just something really heartbreaking about the song For No One that I picked over Love You Too, because it's a song about unreciprocated love. Or, I mean, even if you want, it could be like early form feminism because she doesn't need a man. Like, honestly, no, like, she doesn't need this guy who's like pining over her. Like, no, I have a life outside of you, and he's still like caught in the past, and it's just this really heartbreaker of a song. And again, it's really poppy for being so like sad. And again, this song was only Paul and Ringo. None of the other two, John and George, were not on this song.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 4, I believe I put this one down, and you put this one down.
I definitely put this one down.
Yeah. So number 4, another John song. Surprise, surprise. Glass Onion.
Yeah, I didn't pick this one. When we were doing the list, out of the 30 songs, well, not 30, but I think there was, 24?
Yeah, something like that.
24 songs that didn't get repeated, and out of those 24, 6 of them were off White. So literally a quarter of the songs that we had ended up with were on White. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of White, so I didn't pick this one, but I understand why you guys did. And this also goes back to Happiness is a Warm Gun, where John was writing deliberately obtuse lyrics. He was writing weird cryptic shit on purpose that didn't mean anything. And he went on record as saying like they were at that point where they could do that and get away with it, where they could write nonsense and people would eat it up. And I have a love-hate thing with that, where it's like, yeah, that's cool because you're being anti-authoritarian, but at the same time, there's like, why don't we do it in the road is just like Paul saw 2 monkeys fucking in the road in India and wrote a little interlude song about it, and it made the album.
Yeah, but listen, if I could be that popular that I could write a song about 2 monkeys fucking in a road and get away with it, I would do that 100% of the time. I would make albums about that stuff.
That would literally be the name of the album.
Yeah, it would just be 2 monkeys fucking in a road. That would be my shtick.
Yeah, I know, but like...
You'd be the 2 monkeys fucking in a road guy.
I'm like, hey, that's me. Buy me a drink, please.
Yeah, and again, like I stayed away from White. I mean, there's a lot of really great songs on White. Dear Prudence is a great song. Your Blues, one we're going to get to later. There's just a lot of really good stuff on White. It's a little hodgepodge for me. I also think it's a really interesting fact. I don't think a lot of people know that Glass Onion is the 3rd track on the first album. It's the first time Ringo plays drums on the album. He did quit the band for a very brief time, right when they were recording, I think right after they left India. But he just wasn't having it, and he quit. It was very brief, and again, he showed back up on the album. But back in the USSR and Dear Prudence, he was not part of the recording.
Ringo was not into the monkey fucking in the street.
He was more an octopus in their garden.
He was more an aquatic fucking kind of guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, Glass Onion, Brandon and I picked it, that kind of this one in this case, not authority so much as just like anti-fans, stupid bullshit with the whole Paul is dead thing. Like, okay, well here, stick this in your pipe and try to come up with a conspiracy theory. And then people did.
Yeah, and you might notice that how our picks roll. All right, so number 3.
Number 3, Misha and I had this one on our list. I've Just Seen a Face.
This is, I picked this because 1, it's like a classic love song, and 2, it is my fiance and I's song. Like, when we met, this was a big song for us. I sang it to her on her voicemail, and she loved it, and it's just been a thing for us. It's an adorable song, and I love my fiance, and this is a song that really speaks to our relationship because I met her at a park, and when I saw her face, that's kind of how it went. So, I mean, cliche as it is, this song is high on the list for me because of that.
It's also the oldest song on our list.
It is. We don't have any songs from pre-Help. I had Babies in Black on my personal list off of Beatles for Sale, which was the first song they did in Waltz Time, which is 3/4, but it didn't make the final cut. Again, this was really hard to do.
Yeah.
I picked I've Just Seen a Face because it's, like he said, it's just a really happy poppy number. Or I shouldn't even say poppy. If you listen to it, if you slow it down, it's a country song. It's a straight up country song. It's just played with that real fast percussive beat, which was a little faster than what country was at the time. And they had no shame about country. They covered Carl Perkins, 3 or 4 times up until that point. But I'm a big fan of Help. I know it's usually lower in the list when you're ranking your favorite albums, but that was one that I got into early, so that one kind of sticks with me and goes a little higher. But yeah, I just think it's under 2 minutes. It's just it's all guitar and drums. There's no bass on the song, which I think was really interesting. But yeah,
And it must be said that this song being so high on the list shows that we do have a tiny amount of emotions inside of all of us.
Yeah, I mean they've been crushed down into like a fine diamond through pressure,
Like a
stress.
diminutive.
Yeah, very
tiny.
small. It's very small, but you know what? What's worth the most in this world right now? Diamonds. People love diamonds.
It's true.
So you know what? If you can find our souls, they're fucking.
But it's
worth a lot.
tiny.
They're
like
small. They're small.
Tiny like a kidney stone, and passing one of those things.
Oh, it's a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
So number 2.
our feelings are like kidney stones.
Yeah. They hurt like fuck when you pass. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Number 2, we had Blue Jay Way. Misha and I had this on our
No,
list.
you.
No,
No,
I
Brandon.
did. Thank
Brandon
you.
had this. Okay.
Thank you. That was me, buddy.
Okay, yeah. I picked Blue Jay Way. This is actually one of my, I would easily, this was in top 5 for me, just overall Beatles songs.
Not just because it references a bird, which, if we haven't pointed out, Noah has.
I'm into birds. I
he's
like
an-
birds.
Ornithologist?
Yes.
I wouldn't say that. I like
Part of the Audubon Society.
That works, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll go,
yeah.
yeah. That's true.
Amateur bird fucker.
No.
Professional now?
Yes, yeah.
All right.
They pay me to do that.
Yeah, see? You'd be so lucky.
But this is another George song.
Yeah, I picked this song because it's in my top 5, which change kind of on a daily basis, but this one seems to stick up in there.
It just gets in there and it never.
Yeah.
It's like an impacted bowel. You just can't ever get it out.
Well, no, because it is catchy. That the please don't be long. I will have that stuck in my head on
Yeah.
repeat all day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's and I think that's kind of my favorite part of the song is the dual meaning there. George wrote the song while he was jet lagged in L.A. while waiting for his publicist who got lost getting to his house on a foggy night. So the whole "please don't be long" is he's waiting for you to get here so we can hash some shit out and get rolling. But if you know the Beatles' history with kind of being against the grain, and again going back to think for yourself, I think you can kind of take it as please don't belong, as in don't follow the crowd, don't belong to any one thing, do you. And so there's just that really little subtle subversive message in there that I always like too, and it's just such an original tune that it doesn't sound like any of the other songs.
Yeah, it's just a more subtle take on the other song that we have on the list of
Yeah.
Think for Yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, both beautiful songs in their own right, but yeah.
And
absolutely.
you can say for all you want that the Beatles being so popular and having such a don't belong type message is hypocritical, but it's really not, because that's how they were. They were just people who didn't want to go with the flow of society. They tried to do all they can to go against it, and even though now they're a popular band, that message still holds true, is that they were different. They were
Absolutely.
outside of the norm. So you can't say they weren't based on who they were as people at that time.
Right.
Yep.
And I do want to point out that this was the only song from Magical Mystery Tour that made the list, which to me I think is pretty criminal. I almost just put the A side of Magical Mystery Tour on my underrated list and just left it, because it's of all their albums, I think that A side is probably the most underrated. Fool on the Hill, Your Mother Should Know, Blue Jay Way. It's
Classics.
Yeah, they're just. Walrus is pretty popular, so I don't really count that. But I just love Magical Mystery Tour and the accompanying movie and the Bonzo Dog Band cameo, which is great. So yeah, I'm gonna let you move on.
Blue Jay Way, listen
Blue
to
Jay
it.
Yeah,
Way.
number 2. So before we get to number 1, we have an honorable mention. Like we said at the beginning, all 3 of us would have put this on our list, but it's just it is too popular.
Yeah, with some outside perspective on this, With some outside perspective, we kind of had to shimmy this one off the list for many reasons, but we picked the first metal song ever, Helter Skelter.
Yeah, and if you don't, if you're one of those metal purists who's gonna cry foul that we said this is a metal song, go do it somewhere else. Because it honestly, it could be, the argument can be made and be made well that it is. Because it's heavy, it's got distortion, and it even has a dark meaning when you put in the whole Charles Manson bullshit that went on with it. When really it's just a song about
his, a slide, going up and down a slide.
A kid going up and down a slide. But I mean, it got dark, which is, a trope of metal. It's that heavy, distorted sound is a trope of metal, and this song came out before all of that stuff.
Yep, absolutely. It was the progenitor of all of it.
Yeah, for real.
So if you have a problem with that, tough shit. But that is definitely our honorable mention. Now
the song the song that made it on the album is what? It's like 4:40, but like the first few takes were like real extended jams, and the last one was like almost a half an hour long before they finally came back a few days later and just like knocked out this, like that was the fast version of the song.
Yeah.
And they just knocked it out, and that's why when at the end of the song where it fades back in and Ringo goes, "I've got blisters on me fingers," is because they were just jamming this song out over and over, just kind of. I think it was kind of a cathartic experience for them too, just because that was when they were in a real bad way.
That's metal as fuck too.
Yeah.
So going back over it, number 10 we have "Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite." Number 9 is "Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey." Number 8 is "I Want You, She's So Heavy." 7, "Happiness is a Warm Gun." 6, "Think for Yourself." 5, "For No One." 4, "Glass Onion." 3, "I've Just Seen a Face." 2, "Blue Jay Way." And 1,
number 1, "With a Bullet." This is the only song that all three of us put on our list without speaking to one another before we put them on our list, I might add. So there was no trickery fuckery going on. And it is definitely not to be confused with the James Bond film of a very similar title. Our number 1, "Tomorrow Never Knows," just by John Lennon.
oh my god.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just what they were doing at the time was unheard of, recording wise. Like when I say that, that's not hyperbole. These things were not happening. Like they were, messing with tape loops. Nobody else was doing that. That was just something that was an idea they came up with in the studio, and George Martin said, "Screw it, yeah, try it out."
Not George R.R. Martin.
No, the fifth Beatle, George Martin, their producer.
Get that straight.
Yeah, and just they were running vocals through a Leslie speaker. They were miking up the bass drum, which he never did then. They were stuffing it with like blankets and stuff, which is commonplace now to muffle the sound a bit. But they wanted a very specific tone, so they experimented with that, and just all of this stuff that they said, "Screw it, let's try it out." Like, and it worked too. Like,
yeah, and I mean it's essentially like the first psych rock song, and it's the best psych rock song.
Well,
oh no, I'm giving this song the best psych rock song, just like of all time, because it's such a good song. It's so experimental,
such a fantastic song.
And I mean it can get stuck in your head, and you wouldn't think a song necessarily this experimental could get stuck in your head.
But it can.
Yeah, but it can, yeah.
And that's the genius of the Beatles. They can take any type of music and make us a hit, and make it such a good song that it can become an earworm. Like, a psych rock song should not be able to get fucking stuck in your head and become an earworm. This one will.
Not even that, but just like a psych rock song that the opening lyrics are from the Tibetan Book of the Dead by Timothy Leary, because let's all do acid.
Yeah.
So,
But you can turn that into a gorgeous song.
And the Beatles did it.
So...
And the brevity of it, just like it's in and it's out, and you're just like...
It's under 3 minutes, and so, you never get, like, bored or annoyed with the experimentation, because that
can happen.
That came into play later in their career. Revolution 9 is... it's a sound collage, and that was when they just went for broke and just said, let's do 9 minutes of noise.
That's a good one.
And, I mean, that was, progressive for the time, but I hate it. I just can't listen to it. But this was just like that perfect storm of everything came together, and
it just made something beautiful.
Yeah, and they can't even. I feel like I was watching a documentary where they tried to reproduce it, and they can't because those tape loops and the things they did are just gone.
They
Yeah.
just do not exist.
Yeah, it's just you cannot remake that song without just having that song.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of there's a line by Chuck Klosterman in one of his books when someone asks him, if you were to kill yourself, what song would it be to? And he goes, well, initially I would say Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles, but I don't think I can bleed out in a bathtub in 2 minutes and 47 seconds.
Don't do suicide, kids.
Yep.
It's
And
bad
on
for
that
you.
But read Chuck Klosterman.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Read
absolutely.
Chuck
But on that note, we thank you very much, Noah, for coming and helping us with this
Thank
week.
you for having me. This was great.
Yep, absolutely.
this was awesome.
And it'll happen again on other things that, we're morons when it comes
Well,
to.
again, we're dilettantes. I think we let the fans know that
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
experts.
So
Absolutely.
you, experts, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what your top 10 underrated songs are. Maybe it doesn't even have to be 10, just one. Just maybe
Yeah, what
pick
did we
one.
miss?
Who cares?
What
Yeah,
did
or
we miss?
let us know if we're wrong and why you disagree. Just, do it respectively, or we're going to come to your house and kick your ass and then set it on fire and then leave.
Look at him. He's not going to kick
I'm not
anybody's
going to
ass.
do anything.
It's not gonna. You're
Now-
not gonna do that.
Yeah, but please like, comment, subscribe, and that way you'll know when the next keg is tapped. Thank you very much.
And remember, in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take.
Cheers.